Hello, welcome to the world of literature. I am your host with the series Reading Shakespeare's Sonnets. In today's lecture, we would be reading sonnet number 130. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Now, this sonnet of William Shakespeare is dedicated to the mysterious woman in the series of Shakespearean sonnets, whom we know as Darklady. Darklady has been presented by William Shakespeare in a complete contrast to WH, and let's read the sonnet and see what Shakespeare has to offer us in this sonnet. This is the sonnet that we will take up today. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. And first up, we would be dealing with the text of the sonnet. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. On your screen is the text. Let's read the text first and then explain the verses from the sonnet. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses, damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant, I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet by heaven I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. This was the text of the sonnet 130. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Let's now explain the verses of the sonnet verse by verse. In the first verse, William Shakespeare says, my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. Shakespeare says that my mistress's eyes are not beautiful. Now he is comparing them to sun. They are not like the sun. They are not as beautiful as his sun. They are not as bright as his sun. They are not as good as his sun. In the second verse, it says, coral is far more red than her lips red. And her lips are also not red. She is not that beautiful. The word that Shakespeare has used here, coral, the word coral is a reference to the coral reef, which is an underwater ecosystem characterized by reef building. Corals are generally red in color. So, William Shakespeare says that corals in themselves are more red than the lips of my beloved. They are not red. And then he says, in the third verse, he says, if snow be white, why then her breasts are dun? If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. He is talking about snow. Snow is white. But then the skin of my mistress is dun, is grey, is darkish, is blackish. The breast word here means skin. The skin of my beloved is dun, is darkish, is grayish. The word that William Shakespeare has used here, dun, means dull grayish brown color. And he says that this is the color of skin of my beloved. But snow is extremely white and my beloved is not fair. And in the next verse he says, if hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. This verse on your screen, if hairs be wires. If we can say that the hair that grows on the head of the man or the woman, if they be called wires, then let me be honest with you that on the head of my beloved grow black wires. She doesn't have the most beautiful hair to have. Her hair is so bad that it can be compared with black wires. And then Shakespeare says, I have seen roses damasked red and white. The word used by Shakespeare here, damasked, means decorated with various colors, or a thing consisting of various colors. So here he says that roses, I have seen roses which of various colors, of red, white, and so many of different colors. But the unfortunate part is, he says, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. I don't find any roses in her cheeks, which means that her cheeks are not as beautiful as is a rose. I cannot say that her cheeks are like rose. I cannot compare her cheeks with the rose. She is not that beautiful. She is not that fair. She is not that good. And then he says, and in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. The word delight used by William Shakespeare here means fragrance, joy, happiness. Delight also means joy and happiness, but here in context of this sonnet it means fragrance. He says that I have come across many perfumes which have got beautiful fragrance, which give delight to the soul, which give happiness to the soul, then in the breath that from mistress reeks. The word reeks used by William Shakespeare means unpleasant smell. But the unfortunate part is that the breath of my mistress reeks. It gives out a very unpleasant smell. It's not, its smell is not delightful as it is insert in some perfumes. So what we have find is a pattern where he is derogating beloved. He is not speaking any good about her. And that is what I said initially, that this sonnet is in complete contrast to the sonnets that have been dedicated to W.H. Later, William Shakespeare says that music hath a far more pleasing sound. Now he says the word hath that has been used here is used for has. It's an archaic word for has. So William Shakespeare says, I love to hear her speak. Whenever she comes to me, she speaks to me. I feel good at speaking to her. However, I am mindful. I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. That when I listen to the music, I feel much better than talking to her. Meaning thereby, the voice of his beloved is not pleasing. She doesn't talk in the best of the voice. She doesn't have an impressive voice. And then he says, I grant, I never saw a goddess go. The word grant used here means confess. I confess that I have never seen a goddess. I have never seen a goddess walk on the face of the earth. So I don't know what is the best way of walking. What is the best form of walking on the earth? What is the most pleasing walk to the eye of a man? Since I have not seen a goddess go, he says, my mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. The word treads that has been used here means to walk in a peculiar manner, generally by trampling something under your feet. So he says, though I confess that I have never seen a goddess go, which means that I don't know the best art of walking, but the fact is that when my mistress walks, she walks very unpleasantly, very badly, as if she is treading the ground, as if she is trampling the ground. That is how she walks. Now, William Shakespeare concludes the sonnet, and yet by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. The word rare that William Shakespeare has used in this sonnet, in this verse, means remarkable, good. And the word belied used in the last word means to fail to give correct or to impression of something. So he says, yet by heaven, he swears by heaven that I consider my love as remarkable. Though I have given you a very wrong impression of her, I have belied, I have failed to give the correct impression of her only with the false compares. But you should not think that my beloved is what I have said above in the sonnet. This is actually belying of her. This is a false compare. She is remarkable, she is good. Now, this is a strange statement that he makes at the end of the statement before saying all these things about her beloved, which are not at all good, and neither do they adhere to the tradition of sonnets in Elizabethan times or when Shakespeare was writing. For example, in contrast to sonnet number 75 by Edmund Spenser, where he is all praise for his beloved, but no such words, phrases, verses do we see in Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. So this was sonnet number 130, which we dealt with today. We read the sonnet, we explained the verses, and don't forget to watch our lecture regarding critical analysis of sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. That is all that we have at World of Literature in today's lecture. Thank you for watching and keep watching the World of Literature.